Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings to all of you. Privilege. It's a word that comes up often, and I just feel to speak a bit about that word and what comes up around it. I had a discussion with a sister some time ago, and it all started or all began having to do with perhaps her liking or supporting imagery where a woman was talking about how important it is that the bodies, that women's bodies can be free and be naked without any type of mm, sexualization. And it caused me to flash back to something that a man had said to me. It was years ago, years ago. There was some kind of video of a woman who had jeans spray painted on her, and it was her trying to see whether people would notice or not. Some people didn't notice, some people did. And he said, women with sexy bodies always find a way to be sexy or to show their bodies or their sexiness. And I thought about that. And I guess it stayed with me because years later, I mentioned that to her. But then I added on to that living in community where there is a lot of freedom around body, meaning people may go to the river and decide to be naked, for example, or there may be certain environments where people choose to be less clothed, or a woman may decide, I don't want to wear a top. And this is very common in more, I would say, hippie, stereotypically hippie communities. Mm, it was interesting because I have noticed that I've never really seen anyone stripping off so readily that didn't already fit that standard size that we see often in the mainstream as ideal. So basically, usually slim figured, fit looking women that most people would look at and say, you have a sexy body, or you have an attractive body, or you're fit, or you're lean, so on and so forth, or your breasts are perky, or whatever the case may be. Like, I wouldn't really see women that have features that they are not proud of taking their clothes off as quickly. And this is not just in person, this is talking about as well different experiments, different Instagram posts where people are talking about the journey of how they've embraced their body and then they feel the need to show themselves naked. So it was interesting. It was interesting to discuss that with her because this particular sister, she is someone who, by all means, is very attractive, very beautiful. And from a universal perspective, when I mean that, when I'm saying that, meaning that most people who will see her, just as people have seen, I would say, a testimonial that she gave for me, almost every person would comment and say, wow, she's a very beautiful, stylish woman. So as we're engaging in this discussion, she makes the point that this should be for everyone, though. And I understood her point as well. And how I look at it is that everyone highlights their strengths. Like, every person in this world will highlight what is their strength in some way, shape, or fashion. So if it's their looks, if it's their speech, if it's their wealth, if it's their education, like, if I had a PhD, I would probably find some way to share that information, because I will be proud that I went into that particular system, and I chose to study for a certain number of years and acquire that certification or that degree. I would express it. Um, and I mean, this can go in many areas and many categories. To keep it a bit concise, what I ended up expressing to her is that whatever the privilege is, whatever it is that by most standards is considered to be a strength, those who have the most strength must lend space and mention to those who do not. Those who are more privileged in a certain area must use their privilege to help others who may not have that and give them a voice as well. And so people often look at that in terms of, yes, pretty privilege, or they say white privilege, but there's so many categories of this. You know, there's sighted privilege, there's having 2 feet that you can walk on privilege. There's Recently I saw a video where a young man had tumors that were so he had one of the rarest forms of this type of illness. And I'm telling you, the tumors were taking up all of his face so that one of his eyes were covered. His nose was off to the side. I don't know where his mouth was. I don't know where it was. And he could barely see out of one eye. How about the privilege of not having a rare genetic disorder that causes you to have tumors that take over your face? That's a privilege. So there's 2 ways that I think we can approach this subject. Okay, because once again, I did not take notes. Maybe I should have. I didn't take notes before I started this video. I'm just going with the flow. We'll see if I post this. Whether a person believes they're privileged or not, it is for all of us to look to those who have less privilege, who have less of whatever it is that we take for granted. Whatever it is that we have that we don't even think about. Think about something that you normally don't think about that you have. It could be your tongue that you're speaking with. It could be your eyes that you're seeing with. It could be clothes that you're wearing. It could be the fact that you have a shelter over your head and you don't normally think about that. It could be that you open up the faucet and there's running water. It could be that you have a bank account from which you can withdraw some money. It could be land. It could be anything. Pick something. And then look at those who don't have that. This is important regardless of who you are. The benefit of this is, before I say that, there is a prophetic statement, meaning a prophet, in this case, Prophet Muhammad. Most Muslims will say peace and blessings be upon him, which in Arabic is sallallahu alaihi wasallam, divine peace and blessings be upon him. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the meaning of what he said is that when one of you is feeling some kind of lack of gratitude, to look at those who are below, to look at those who have less. Because when you look to those who have more, you will feel ungrateful. You will feel depressed. You will feel something. If you keep looking to those who have more wealth, more health, more looks, more fitness, more eloquence, more talents, more abilities, more friends, more fame, more power, whatever it may be that you like, more cars, more designer clothes, whatever. If you look to those people constantly, not remembering from where your gifts and your provision comes from, and you never think about those who have much less than you, then it can put you in a state of no longer being grateful to the one who's giving you so much, regardless of what you have. So that's important for everyone. This is why I really am a big proponent for years of this statement, Allahumma barik. I say Allahumma barik even when it's something that I'm not so deeply into, but I just say it anyway, because whatever it is, it needs to be blessed, right? Like whatever it may be, it needs to be blessed. But if I know that someone, for example, has something that many people covet and many people desire even more, you have to pray for that person or that thing, that it has God's protection, essentially. But it's so important to look at those who have less, and on both sides, to pray for those who have more and pray for those who have less. Pray for those who have more. Ask that what they have be used for good. Ask that they be protected from ill intentions or jealousies of people. Ask that they are increased in what they have. And at the same time, those who have less, do what you can. And if it's not in the physical, material, then it can even be with words. It can be with encouragement, and it can be with prayer. All of us are privileged. Now, for many aspects, someone might look at me and they might be like, how are you privileged? Like, in what ways are you privileged? You're a Black American Muslim woman who by no means fits the standard of what is idealized in the West. But I know I'm privileged. I know that I have access to so many things, to education, to healthy food, to be able to travel, to be able to express myself in this format, to have family who cares for me, to have had the education that I have had and that I chose for myself. All of these things are a type of privilege. So I do not negate that historically there are some people that have been given advantage because we live in a Eurocentric world, a world that has been dominated by Eurocentrism. So with that, the world looks to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed savior. It's like you go to a Black church and a man that came from the Middle East, so must have been brown and probably had dark eyes, and even the Bible said he has woolly hair, is now presented with lanky hair that's blonde with blue eyes. Like half of the men living, I shouldn't say half, but a good number of the men living in hippie communities, people will look at them just because they have long brown hair and a beard and say, you look like Jesus. And no, you don't. Not according to the Bible, not according to where Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, not according to where he lived in the Middle East. No, you don't look like him. You look like the Eurocentric colonialist uh, version that was and has been put around the globe that's been globalized. And the fact that even people are so ready to accept that in and of itself shows that Eurocentrism. I don't know even know if that's a word, to be honest. I know Eurocentric is a word. I don't know if you can say Eurocentrism. Someone can check me on that if they like. But the point is that when we look throughout the world, we see so many people who favor, and we see the influence of white history and white domination. And yeah, it's true. If the script had been flipped, then obviously it would be way different. Then suddenly, or not suddenly, gradually, uh, Europeans would long for broader features and, dare I say, fuller lips, and dare I say, larger behinds. But then, if it is anything like history today, then maybe it would flip back again. Seriously, because it's all very strange. This world is strange, honestly. There's a verse in the Quran that is essentially documenting what Satan or Shaitan, what he said to Allah about how he would change creation. He would call the people to change creation and to be dissatisfied with themselves. So in Nigeria somewhere, you have people bleaching themselves. This place, people have straight hair, they want to have curly hair. People with curly hair want to have straight hair. People are not satisfied, so they have to put layers and layers of makeup to like alter the features and make it how they want it to be. People are cutting into their bodies, adding things, injecting things so they can fit the imagery that they've been seeing over and over and over again, that is designed to make you feel inadequate so that people can make a lot of money off of your insecurity. One of the reasons why it's hard for me to get so deep, and I've never gotten deep into talking too much about what some call white privilege, is because I don't want to give power to that. I can recognize that something like that exists, but ultimately I feel that I give my own power to me, and my creator gives power to me. And that power is beyond whether or not I've gained 70, 80 pounds or not, whether my face is puffy from eating rice or not, whether my socioeconomic status is where I want it to be or not, whether I live in Bali or whether I live in Jersey City, New Jersey, or Yemen, or it's like whatever the case may be, whatever color my skin, whatever texture my hair, whatever my educational background, I am not empowered by what others think of me, nor am I empowered by who I'm told is more privileged. I define my life. Like, I make the choice. I decide what is beautiful and what isn't. I decide what I accept for myself and what I don't. I decide. And maybe I'll just live in my own bubble, but that's okay. And maybe my bubble doesn't choose to interact with these other worlds, and that's okay. I went on a bunch of tangents just now. You know, there is a time and place for rawness, and ultimately we decide. We have to also sometimes think about what is the end result that we desire. This is now going into a different segment, I suppose. What do we desire? Like, what's the end result that we actually want to see manifested in front of us? Do we want to create more togetherness? Do we want to be understood? Do we want to truly understand someone else and where they're coming from? We decide. We can decide what is the outcome that we want. And then from there, make the decision of what do we say? When do we say it? How do we say it? I notice I'm someone who, I don't know if it's my energy type, I have no idea, but I tend to absorb and hold on to things. And I don't necessarily think that's good. So, one thing I'm working on is expressing an insecurity, expressing a sadness, expressing a frustration, but at the same time, not making it necessarily personal. So, in the presence of a certain person, or in their absence, or whatever it may be, some emotions could come up. And for me, there's a freedom in expressing it to that person. Now, sometimes people will take it very personally, and you won't be friends with them anymore. Even if you, maybe you weren't even friends in the first place, but they won't want to be around you because they don't have the ability at that time to really hold the space to understand why you're expressing what you're expressing, and that it really isn't about them, it's about you. So it can be messy. Not all the time, not often, but it can be messy, a little bit uncomfortable. So, anyway, this was a lot of tangents, and I guess only those who truly love me a lot would listen to all of this. I mean, the people who have like the really, I think, popular channels, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, first of all, they know how to be consistent, they know how to be engaging. My engagement happens with people. It doesn't come like, hi, I'm Hasna, and I am on my channel, and I am amazing and vivacious, and welcome, welcome, welcome. You know, it's like, look, peace and blessings. Let's go. Yeah, so anyway, this is, I think this is enough. But yeah, just some thoughts around privilege, and every one of us has our privilege. And let's focus on the privileges we do have. Let's acknowledge that there are people who are far less privileged. Let's pray for those people. And when we see those who have more in a particular area, then we bless them. We ask for those people to be blessed. And those of you who are exceptionally blessed in certain areas, share your privilege, give platforms to other people, give voice to other people. Think about the people who don't have the money you have, that don't have the access you have, that don't have the wealth you have, the looks you have, the home you have, the cars you have, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. And do what you can. And sometimes start with your inner circle, because you don't always have to help from far away. Like, you can sometimes start with those who are closest to you and say, is there anything that you need? Is there any way that I could support you with the things that you know you're able to support in? could be time, it could be equipment, it could be, yeah, whatever it is. And I want to say special thanks to all of you who have been that for me in my life, and who have, like, I'm thinking of one sister in particular that reached out and she said, I want to make sure that you need to be online. Like, you need to have a better have a website, because I had one before that I got rid of, and offered her services. So, and because she believed in me and believes in me, and that's a beautiful thing as well. So, in the future, I would love to have higher quality, like good microphone, you know, how about an intro, some documentaries, lots of things. But for now, let's just be consistent with showing up here. And if there's anything at all that I said, if you made it to the end, please let me know. Let me know you made it to the end. And if there was anything, even one thing that resonated, that you connected with, that made you reflect, please share in the comments below. And have you ever had a situation where you felt underprivileged? What is your privilege? And how can you share your privilege with others? I would love to hear back from all of you. And for now, take care and lots of love.